The hunting hunger for correct Seiko divers is never over, because it's never right. And as a result, I ended up with these divers scratching my head ultimately, because I realized the deeper you're going with heritage divers, the more you'll be confused in regard to their accuracy of their reissues. I have a soft spot for Seiko models, especially for Seiko divers, and I learned in time about myself that I enjoy safer modern reissues rather than buying vintage models, considering the advanced patina or the lack of waterproofness. In my view, it's a pity to own a conserved Captain Willard or a 62 Mus pieces of history and wear them on a daily basis. So for me, modern reissues is the way to go and enjoy. But what is interesting, this is a game where I keep losing with Seikos, because no matter the version I get, Seiko will always come up with a more accurate, exciting and improved version. Which was the case with the 62 Mus, expecting also to do the same with the 6105 Captain Willard soon. Which I expect to outclass the SLA033 model in regard to the accuracy. And it gets frustrating when you spend a lot of money on these not easy to find models. And this is happening basically because the 62 Mus is the biggest cow Seiko ever milked. It's actually crazy how the 62 Mus was always made in limited editions at a 39.5mm case with different heights, different case materials and colors, but never in the original sizing or aspect ratio, because you see the proportions are off compared to the latest SJE model. I'm not sure if I'm a fanatic of accuracy, but I do enjoy how the vintage models are wearing. I guess somewhere in my subconscious this is what I'm looking for that specific ratio of a compact design with a thin case and modern specifications. In my view, the design of the 62 Mus it's not that exciting nor complex, but has something special about it. However, out of this simple waterproof watch, Seiko managed to inspire over 6 diving collections, starting with the non-limited SBDC051, followed by the popular SPB143, the 41mm SLA065 with a similar case design, ultimately offering the new Marine Master, which ended up with a 62 Mus design. But as a side release, because the Marine Master Professional will probably remain in the same case design and dimensions. This is an interesting watch on paper or on renders, but in reality it's not that exciting. So if you're planning to grab one, just make sure you see it first in flesh. As comparison, besides the noticeable diameter, these correct reissues do not have too many things in common. The case shape and the dial layout is similar as generic design guidelines, made on different scales, but in detail they have totally different proportions. For example, the bezel of the SLA has a smaller pip than the original or the SJE model, with a narrower bezel, so the ratio is already different against the dial, meaning that the markers are similar in size, but due to the wider dial of the SLA version, the dial spacing is bigger, so it doesn't provide you the feeling of a unified and balanced dial as the original model. Where on the SJE model the dial is busier, offers more density and accuracy as the original one, the printing contributing as well. The contrast offered by the printed text is higher on the SJE than on the SLA model. As cases, besides the diameter and the bigger height due to the movement constraint, the 39mm case is wider in the middle with narrower lugs, where the 37mm correct reissue has a narrower diameter with thicker lugs, meaning that the SJE model feels more rectangular. If you want, it's the same approach used by Tudor with the 54 against the 58. And that is actually important for the overall feeling of a vintage vibe for a diver. From the side we can spot better the differences. The SJE093 has a narrower bezel height with a slimmer case profile which is polished on the sides, where the SLA043 has the ever brilliant, more durable case which is fully brushed with a thicker profile besides the case back. And we can actually see how the profile of the lugs are falling down quicker than the ones of the SLA version. As feeling and quality, although the 093 6L movement is more of a budget release compared to the 043, in reality it looks a bit more premium than the SLA version. The highly polished markers combined with the grey anthracite dial and box crystal makes the 6L more refined and balanced than the SLA. And pointing out to accuracy, the SJE model has a small bloomed markers at 3 o'clock next to the date to flag the date space in low light conditions. This actually back in the days was a requirement for a diver watch, so a small touch which speaks about the charm about this edition. As quick specs, the 62 Moss measures 39.5mm in diameter versus 37mm, 47.5mm as lug tip to lug tip versus 46.5, 14.5mm in height versus 13mm, a common 19mm lug width, and in regard to the weight, the SLA weighs 111 grams versus 90 grams with the original straps, so quite a big difference. Both offer a sapphire box crystal, the same waterproofness of 200 meters, ensured by a screw-in crown sign with Seiko, and the watches are operating different movements. The SLA043 has the popular 8L35 movement, where the SJE has the 6L37 having 9 beats per second and 45 hours power reserve. This is a thinner movement implemented for the first time on a King Seiko model. But based on my experience, except for the spring drive movements, the rest of them are pretty inaccurate, so I'm not crying about an 8L movement. Now, in terms of accuracy versus practicality versus sizing, although I love the anti-corrosive case of the SLA, including the movement and the case size, I think I will stick with accuracy and keep the 62 Mas SJE093. Although it's smaller, somehow I appreciate more the correct sizing, the thinner profile, also the color combo. Hoping obviously that Seiko won't release a more accurate 62 Mas. I mean, I'm not sure what else can they release in terms of proportions besides other color options. But overall, with both models I had issues in terms of wearability because these heritage straps offered for the correct reissues are pretty stiff, long and difficult to wear, at least for my taste. Love the designs and the accuracy of the straps. I'm pretty sure they're reliable and durable, but hard to wear. What I've discovered, and since then I'm super pleased with the 62 Mas case. I squeezed 20mm FKM rubbers with 19mm spring bars on them. I love the plain design of the straps, which do not compete with the watch heads, but also the fact that they are shorter and curved towards the end lugs, and despite the shorter lug to lug, that curve from the beginning of the strap ensures the right comfort and they do not look squeezed between 19mm lugs. If you like them, these are from 7 Friends and Watches. I'll leave the link in the description. Because the experience to wear a 62 Mas changes once a FKM rubber is strapped on. The case combo with the strap with shoulders does the trick. Both watches are qualified as Brave Beaters on the channel in the position number 55 in the Hall of Fame because they represent the same iconic model, so there is no point to mention that. So that is it. Hope you enjoyed this episode. With the usual curiosity, which one do you prefer and why? Please let me know in the comments below. And as usual, if you're new around, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave and stay safe.